right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, April 25th Berlin Board of Education meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right, so we are very excited to welcome some McGee students this evening for a student presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Urso. Give a nice introduction.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you to the board for letting us show you how we use our time at school. We have several staff members and several students here tonight. As you know, you've heard a lot about social emotional learning at school. Also, you might have heard a little bit about like training your brain to be ready to learn. So training your brain to be ready is much like if you were going to work out, you would stretch out, obviously. So there's a lot of research around, you know, the motivated brain and then social emotional learning. So we have to be ready to be able to get our brains to learn to sit. So hopefully today we'll have a chance to get your brains ready to sit through a board meeting. I saw the agenda, it's kind of long. So we do have some students, and I'm also here with Mr. Chevrini, our assistant principal, and Karen Dupre, our lead teacher. So they're going to be working some of the slideshow, but I'm going to turn it over to the staff and our students. And if there's any questions, certainly we'll be able to answer them. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Plona, who is a PE, wellness, and health teacher at McGee. Right.
Thank you, everyone. I also have Mr. Gorski with us here tonight, and Mr. Eagle unfortunately could not make it. We also have a student teacher that had class tonight as well. So we have with us tonight Jack, Mateo, Ryan, Camden, Ashley, Elena, and we have a couple other that are going to be in the next presentation as well. Last year we did. I'll be louder than this. We can't hear you. Okay. Last year, I got to use my PE voice here. Last year we actually did some professional development about brain breaks and getting your body up during class and moving. They say sitting is the new smoking. So if you're sitting too long, it's just as dangerous as smoking cigarettes. So we want kids up and moving. So we use these activities as a brain break in class or for PE, health and wellness as kind of instant activity. So without further ado, come on up, guys. Okay, Jack's gonna start us off with our first activity, but all you guys are gonna come up. Okay, Jack's gonna tell you about our first activity here. Yes, so Elena is here today in place of Lizzie, and everybody else is here.
You guys all gonna stand in my way? Today I will be teaching how to play rock, paper, scissors math. Instead of shooting out a rock, paper, or scissors, you will shoot out 0, 1, 2, 3, or 5, and your opponent will do the same thing. And first person to add up your total number of fingers will win. Will I be able to get a volunteer? Mr. Benigni?
He's the math guy.
He is, yeah, he's cheating the math.
No force?
No, 1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So we're each gonna go either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on shoot, and first person to add up the total would win.
Yeah, and when you shoot, hold them up so each of you guys can see. Don't like hide them behind your back or anything. Yeah, so you're both gonna shoot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 0. Add them up, total digits. Whoever says the answer first is our winner. Go ahead, Jack. Ready?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 5.
You gotta say the answer too. You gotta beat him. You gotta beat him. Ready? Let's go again.
Okay, I'll try.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
1.
3.
3. You're adding them.
Oh.
You're adding your fingers and his fingers. Let's go again. You're 0 for 2.
I
Ready?
didn't see those at first. I got
Now you got it.
0.
No. You can pick any number you want. So if you do a 4, he does a 4. We add it. We got 8. Ready?
Yep.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
1.
Ah,
Better, I got better.
One more time.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 8.
8.
Okay, quick. All you
I don't
guys
have to go
find a
again,
partner
do I?
real quick.
Oh,
You
here
guys
we
can
go.
stand up with one of the McGee students. Oh no, you guys got to do it around. Let's go. Mateo.
Better with an abacus, I think.
Somebody new. Go ahead. Right here, Sam.
Let's do it.
Oh, okay.
See if the strategy works better on the right hand or left hand.
Okay, guys, real quick, we're gonna change up. Jack, what are we gonna do next?
Now we're gonna multiply the numbers.
Okay, multiplication instead of math right now. Ready? Okay, and hold up, guys. If Ryan and Mr. Selena can come to the front, we're gonna demo the next activity here. Ryan's gonna talk you through it. Mr. Selena, are you feeling like you can touch your toes today? Okay. I think you can do it. We do have a modification if you can't reach that low, but I think we can. No, I think we're gonna make them bend down just for fun. Okay. So Ryan, what do we do here?
So head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Mr. Plummer's going to give out a command of what to do. So if he says heads, you're going to touch your head, shoulders, and then so on. And then when he says beanbag, you have to grab the beanbag, and the first person to grab it wins.
Little contest here. Okay. So, you guys ready?
Don't pancake the middle
So
schooler.
2 hands on each body part. And Mr. Selena, you can get a little lower down in a squat here. That'll get you closer to the beanbag, right? You can get a squat too. Okay, head, knees, shoulders, head, knees, toes, beanbag. Ready? Head, shoulders, knees, shoulders, knees, shoulders, head, beanbag. So McGee students, grab a beanbag real quick. Here's the modification. If anybody can't bend down, we can do this in school on a desk, and we can use a pencil, a book, notebook, whatever it is on the desk. And instead of saying toe, when you can say toes, you're just going to hit knees instead. So if I'm playing you don't have to touch your toes. We can just go knees and then beanbag. Okay? So guys, grab a beanbag real quick, find a new partner, and we'll play a couple rounds real quick of this. Yeah, I'm going to command it for everybody here. Find your partner. If you want to go desk, you can go desk. If you want to go floor, you can go to floor. If a board member wants to challenge a board member, I mean, you guys can do that too. Okay, everybody ready? You got room? Ryan, slide this way. Camden, slide. Camden. Okay, here we go. Head, shoulders, knees, shoulders, toes, feedback. Ready? Shoulders, head, shoulders, head, knees, shoulders, toes, feedback. Last one, guys. Last one. Head, shoulders, knees, toes, knees, shoulders, beanbag. Good job, everyone.
All right, thank you, Mr. Plona, and thank you, students, for that. It was great. So, I just want to make sure before we go to before I have our counseling department come in, that these are things that we had training for all of our staff. So this is not just PE teachers make it look easy, right? So in a social studies class or in a ELA class, these are things that, remember, kids have been sitting for 2 years in their rooms trying to learn online. And so this is one way not only to get kids moving, and the idea is to train the brain so that they're ready for learning and that our scores go up, which that's something that we're looking to do as well. So this is not just for PE health or wellness class.
And as Mr. Urso knows, we're actually applying to become a red ribbon school.
Do you want to hear?
Through PET.
Sorry, they can't hear it on TV.
Yep. So we're actually applying to be a red ribbon school, which is a PASS, physically active school system. So that just came into legislative a couple years ago, and I've worked closely with the authors of PASS and the creators of Red Ribbon, and they actually came to our school as well to help us out with some of those things. So we're working our way up to do that.
Great, thank you. Oh, and by the way, standardized testing is in PE also. So if our standardized test scores go up in PE, that also helps with our scores as well. So, all right, I'm going to turn it. So we have Mrs. Hughes, Mrs. Stevenson, and Mrs. Barton. I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Barton, who's our 8th grade counselor. She's our newest counselor this year, and she's going to focus on the counseling department and how we're doing some mindful activity as well.
All right, hello everyone. First slide. All right, so this is a photo of our Zen Den, which is actually in our counseling suite, and I feel really lucky to have, and I know Ms. Stevenson and Ms. Hughes do as well, because it's a great space for our kids to come and help to just regulate their emotions if they're having a tough time in class, they're feeling really anxious, and they just can't focus on the work. They can come into our office, visit the Zen Den, we usually set a 5-minute timer, and then we'll check in, see how they're feeling, see if they're ready to go back to class. If they're not, then we'll work through some other things with them. But some of the things the students do in the Zen Den, they can take brain breaks. We have coloring books, foam puzzles, different fidgets. They can take auditory breaks through the Calm app, which is a great app that has like 1-minute meditations. There's different breathing and relaxation exercises they can do through the iPad that we have in our office. And then we also have some physical items. We have a weighted ball and a blanket, and we have a yoga mat, a few yoga mats and meditation exercises, and some of these things were donated to us by our PTO, which we're very thankful for. So this is a great space. We also encourage staff to come visit if they need a space to regulate themselves for a few moments, because we all need that time sometimes. So we're very thankful for our Zen Den space. And while in the Zen Den or just in our office, a lot of times we have students that come in and they're either having a panic attack or they're just feeling super anxious. And so these are some examples of some calming and breathing techniques that we use with them. So there's box breathing. So we ask the students to inhale for 4 seconds, hold, exhale, and then just keep doing that box breathing. And that kind of helps the students to calm down. We also do grounding exercises, which helps to bring students to the present. So we ask them to look around and name 5 things that you see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. So that kind of helps to ground the student and bring them back to the present moment. And then we have, this is just an example of a 1-minute meditation. A lot of times when students come in, they're so dysregulated, they feel like they're never going to calm down, like they can never go back to class. And sometimes it really only takes 60 seconds to bring that student back. And then they do that quick meditation, and they're able to kind of refocus and either see that what was amping them up isn't that big of a deal, or they're able to kind of like look at it in a different way so that they can refocus and again get back to the classroom, which is the ultimate goal. So, okay. Ms. Hughes?
Hi. A couple other things that the school counselors and our students are involved in. We have the Common Ground Adventure Group. A couple of years ago, we were asked to join forces with Jamie Miller and Berlin Youth Services. And each year, the population of students has changed, but we have a group of kids that we bring on 8, am I making that number up? 6 to 8 adventures, like snow tubing. We're about to go to the batting cages. We try to pick kids that might be struggling with making connections with peers and adults. So we just spent a little extra time with them. Our group's a little smaller this year because of COVID, but I'm sure next year it'll be bigger than it is. And then we have the Coexist Group, which was started at least 7 years ago or more. It was started by a group of students. They try to promote kindness and just acceptance in our school and making sure that everybody knows that there's a place for them. They do things like bulletin boards for Black History Month. They did last month a kindness bombing in our library where they printed out hundreds of kind messages and just bombed all the books in the library so that throughout the years people will find them and find a nice message for the day, stuff like that. And coming up, we have Wellness Week. May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. So the week of May 9th through the 13th, we have themes every day of the week for both students and staff.
On Wednesday, we're going to have a Wellness Wednesday where we're going to turn the Zen Den into a wellness area for our staff. We have some really great volunteers from our community that have volunteered to do 10-minute chair massages, and they're coming in to do mini Reiki sessions to help promote wellness at our teachers so that they're available to work with our students. And then each day there's an activity for our students to be part of.
So I'm briefly going to talk about what we're doing in the classroom to help support our students. All three of us we deliver about 5 lessons a year. We've been working actually revamping that over the last couple years, and then we did that and COVID hit, and then we had to revamp again. So we've also been working with the high school to make sure what we're doing in 6th, 7th, and 8th kind of builds off of itself and then aligns with what they do at the high school as well. We've been focusing a lot on self-exploration this year, because if you are going to try to figure out what you want to take for classes or what you want to do when you get older, you have to have a sense of self, and we're finding that kids really don't know who they are or who they want to be. We also do offer a variety of groups. We have kids fill out a survey at the beginning of the year that allows them to give us information about them if anything changed or is new from over the summer, but also allows them to let us know if they're interested in any type of group experience. This year we did an anxiety or stress management group in all 3 grades. In 6th and 7th we use this book Superpowered, so if you have any students or children at home that are struggling with stress, it's a great book. There's actually activities throughout it, so it's kind of like a workbook as well. So we did it as a book club with 6th and 7th grade, and then in 8th grade, we just took a different approach to it than using this book. And then we also started, which has been running year long, a yoga club, which is new this year. So I have 2 volunteers, if Michaela and Paulina could come up. They are brave enough to volunteer. They're going to help, and they want to guide you through a mindful movement. But I'm in my mindful moment, and then also some mindful movement. So they're going to ask you to do a couple yoga poses if you're brave enough to follow along with them. Okay? Anybody want? Do you want to go in the middle? Is that you? How about you stand right here so people can see you? I'll stand right next to you.
Hi, my name is Paulina. Hi, my name is Michaela. We're in grade 7.
And we are part of the Mindful Movement Yoga Club.
We'll be leading through a mindful moment exercise.
And a half sun salutation.
We are going to start by a mindful exercise. Take a few deep breaths, close your eyes if you're comfortable. Paulina is going to ding the bell and listen until you can't hear the bell anymore. When you can't hear the bell anymore, open your eyes.
So now I'll be bringing you through a half sun salutation. So if you're comfortable, you can stand up and join me with this. So you are going to... No. Okay. So you're going to want to spread your feet apart a little bit, and you're going to want to have your hands by your side and facing forward. And now you're going to want to bring your hands up to a extended mountain pose. And then you're going to swan dive down and touch your toes if you can. And you're going to do a halfway lift, so it's a little up, and then you're going to go back down. You're going to reverse swan dive back up to extended mountain pose. You're going to clap your hands together and put it to your heart center. And take a couple breaths here.
Did very good. So we've been meeting once a week on Mondays during DS time, and sometimes the kids will pick their own poses that they want to do. Sometimes I do it with Miss Coughlin, one of our school psychologists, that will lead them through, and she's trained in yoga. So we actually have probably, what would you say, 18 kids sometimes on a good day, depending on what's going on during DS. We actually have a lot of boys that joined that I was really surprised by. I tried to impress upon them the importance with sports, that you have to not only just work out your muscles, but stretch your muscles. So we've had a nice turnout so far this year. That's really it, unless there's questions.
Am I supposed to still hear the ringing?
I'm very impressed if you do.
Too many concerts when I was younger.
So hopefully, thank you everyone, and thank you for coming, all of our students. Hopefully you see how we're using some of our time at school to get kids ready for learning, and we see the benefits in the way that they interact. I know you could see a lot of people having fun, at least during the, I know Mr. Benigni was when I was trying to get his toes, but some of the things that, the beanbag thing is kind of fun, and so, we just want to, our values are that kids are learning academically, and of course, we want them to grow socially and emotionally as well, and we want them to be ready. So, the parents that are here, we thank you for sending your kids ready to learn every day, so we appreciate that, and we appreciate all the support that the board has given us. So, if there are no questions, we're ready to eat our cookies.
Is that what happens after? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I want to briefly just thank the students and the faculty and the parents who came out tonight. It was really great to see all that you guys are doing. And also address some of the misconceptions around social emotional learning. There's a lot out there that, it's other stuff, and this was awesome. I think it, really helped me get focused for the meeting tonight, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and it was great seeing what the kids are doing at school and having them lead us through it. Does anyone else have anything to say?
No, I would just echo that, and really it is about engagement. So getting kids engaged is about getting their minds and their bodies engaged and ready to learn. So this is a pathway into doing that. So thank you for doing that. Thank you, students, and thank you, staff and faculty, for your investment, and parents, of course.
Anyone else? All right, well, you guys are free to go and enjoy this lovely night. You can stay. We would love to have you, but you don't have to. Take some cookies. Take a cookie. We're going to shift gears. I'm so happy the students were here. This is why we do what we do. So we are going to move on to committee reports. I'm going to turn it over to our student board reps. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say.
So this is spring sports season, and we're still pretty early in the season, but we just want to mention our teams. So we have at BHS, the boys and girls lacrosse, boys and girls tennis, and boys and girls track. And we also have boys baseball, girls softball, and girls golf. So they're all having strong seasons, and can't wait to see the rest of the seasons. This Thursday, the National Honor Society is going to be inducting 60 new junior members. So they'll all be recognized for their outstanding character, leadership, scholarship, and the hours of service that they've dedicated to our community. And then finally, this week is our Spring Spirit Week. So each day there's themes for dressing up and making sure that we have our community strong. And then Friday, which will be our pep rally.
And the spring band concert will be held on Tuesday, April 26th from 7 to 8 in the auditorium. I know the band members are very excited to show off all the hard work they've put into this performance. And on Wednesday, April 27th, the District Art Show will be opening and will be held from 5 to 7:30 p.m. And it will be held at the New Britain Museum of American Art. And to find out more information about that and the exact address, you can go to the Berlin High School website. And Sean Derrick presented to the entire 9th and 10th grade students, and then he presented to a smaller group of junior students. And from what I've heard, all the students really, really enjoyed it. And we thank Upbeat and the town social service for supporting that. That's it.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports. I know 3 of the committees have met.
Yeah, Fine Short Curriculum Committee met just prior to our board meeting this evening, and to review the revisions to the current academic calendar current year's academic calendar, as well as the proposed revised calendar for the 2022-2023 year, as well as to review our goals for this year. I think that's all I have to say. I think we're going to review the calendar
Yes.
later in the agenda. Okay.
Tracy, we met.
We did? Before? Okay.
Between meetings,
Oh, yeah, we
we
did.
met, yeah.
Okay,
It was
right
a very
after,
long
yeah.
gap. It was, I feel like it was like 6 weeks.
So yeah, we met, we talked about our goals, we got our goals all done, and then, we revisited the social media, bylaw that will be in later on this evening as well. And we are meeting again on Wednesday to talk about social media, and are we bringing students in, I think, then too, right?
Yes.
Okay, good, yeah, and we're gonna ask their input on what we should be doing social media wise.
Thank you. Ken, we'll
We
turn
just,
it over to you.
yeah, we just had an ad hoc committee to talk about some policies, because more policies have been amended and modified. We're gonna be talking about some of those later on a first reading as well as a second reading. And we do have a minor update to one of the second reading ones that we'll talk about later on. So don't let us forget. You won't wanna miss it.
We won't forget, don't worry. We're not going anywhere. And did the F&O committee meet in the past 6 weeks?
It has not.
Okay.
Has it? I don't think it has.
I know, it's been a long period.
Referendum date set, we can't talk about anything, so.
Yes, and the referendum is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It is.
So make sure you guys go out to vote, however you so choose. I'm gonna support the budget. Go ahead.
Communications to the board, dear Berlin Board of Education members, thank you so much for the beautiful orchid you sent on behalf of my mother's passing. Your gift brought light into my very difficult time. Our family thanks you kindly, Maureen Mullins and family. Another thank you note, Brian and the Board of Education, thank you so much for the beautiful plant you sent my mom's passing. Your thoughtfulness was very appreciated. Jill Teradina, BHS Council.
Great, thank you. I'm gonna turn it over to the audience of citizens. So, I'm just gonna read what is stated. Members of the Berlin community are encouraged to share their thoughts with the Board of Education and are invited to do so during this segment of the meeting. When appropriate to do so, members of the board and administration may respond to comments. However, in consideration of those in attendance and consistency, in an effort to proceed in a timely manner, follow-up discussions will most likely take place outside of the meeting. Residents speaking during this portion of the meeting will be limited to 3 minutes per resident. So we are gonna open it up. Would anyone like to address the board? Go ahead. Just state your name and address for the record.
All right, Mary Catherine LaRose, 26 Woodruff Lane in Kensington. What I wanted to talk to you all about tonight is the difficulty I've had in navigating the Board of Education website to find things that I'm looking for. Specifically, I've looked for agendas and not just for the Board of Education main meetings, but for also committee meetings, and when they're meeting, where they're meeting, and sometimes it's just been very difficult for me to find that information. I actually spoke to a really nice person at Berlin High, who's I guess your tech specialist, Michael. He informed me that he puts on the website what you give him. So I don't know if there's a way to make it where it's more upfront and you don't have to go in and search through the website as much. I'm not the best at technology, but I'm also not the worst. So I'm thinking if I would have difficulty, other people would as well. And then I wasn't going to even talk about this, except for I'm surprised that in this smaller room, I know I'm having very difficult time hearing, and my hearing's really good for a person my age, and especially with the kids, really couldn't hear much. So I'm surprised because at the high school, in that big cavernous auditorium, we really could hear everything. So I don't know if that's just a technical glitch and you could fix that, but thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And
Hello.
Hi. Kristen Zarabozo, 158 Elwood Road. I wanted to take this opportunity to actually thank Lindsay Leary personally for the excellent article she wrote about social justice being taught in Berlin high schools. Lindsay, I thought your article was a well-crafted, thoughtful piece that beautifully captured why it's so important to address and examine social justice and equity in schools and in the wider community. I particularly responded to your words, quote, Social justice in education is about creating a welcoming classroom that embraces student opinions and backgrounds with the goal of empowering students. Once students feel comfortable, included, and that their identity is recognized in the classroom, they feel more motivated to learn and explore the world around them, which will prepare students for their future after high school, end quote. I also appreciated how you identified that classrooms environments examining social justice topics facilitate discourse that allows all students to feel comfortable speaking about their life experiences and values they hold close to them. These conversations can expose students to many different perspectives, enabling them to become empathetic, aware, and most importantly, understanding of the differences in our world, end quote. I know that people in this town care deeply about being able to express varying viewpoints in an environment that encourages discourse. Your article highlights how equity and social justice can further develop and nurture such values and discourse by embracing different life perspectives that ultimately enrich our community. As a member of the Berlin Equity Action team and as an expectant parent who is looking towards having her own children educated here in the future, I want to thank you for the hope you've given me with your article, the hope that my child will be educated in a manner that encourages him to think critically and experience different points of view, that he will be nurtured by his teachers and his peers with truth to boldly face the complicated and incredible legacy that comes with being a citizen of this country. Thank you for writing this article, Lindsay. Thank you for shedding light and putting at least one parent's heart at ease about the education her son shall experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mic drop.
You know, personally, I know I haven't been able to thank Lindsay for the article. It was very impressive and very well written. You know, as I read that, I was thinking, wow, this is really high level for a high schooler, and, you know, it makes sense why the New Britain Herald scooped that right up. So well done. Thank you. It was great. Okay, moving on. I'm going to turn this one over to Superintendent Benigni.
Yes, we've had a resignation. Dr. Aaron McGurk resigned effective April 8th. Aaron has accepted a new position as Director of Talent Development at EastCon. Wish Aaron the best and thank her for her 3+ years here in Berlin.
Do we have a motion for consideration?
I move to accept the resignation of Erin McGurk, effective April 8th, 2022, and thank her for her 4 years of service she has provided to the district, and to wish her well in her new position as the Director of Talent Development at EastCon.
Thank you.
Second.
So motion by Adam, second by Carrie. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, carries 9-0, correct? All right.
Full table.
Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion for consideration?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So motion by motion by Melissa, second by Tim. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 9-0. Moving on to new business. So Superintendent Benigni will update us on the status of the budget for the 2022-2023 school year.
At this time, the budget is at 2.5%, which included the last board meeting, the $1,040,000 in cuts versus our 4.67. I just think it's important to note within those cuts, roughly $700,000 was to personnel. The assistant superintendent's position, as well as various positions that at the high school. We had a retirement of a science teacher, the retirement of a business teacher, and then we had a teacher that is filling a special education role at an elementary. So 3 positions from the high school, as well as reduction in a math specialist and reading specialist, and then positions that were moved into grants, taking up more of the choice grant. So 700,000 of the $1,040,000 were in staffing positions. At this point, you know, tomorrow is the referendum. I'm not officially able to comment on that, but that the vote will be at 2.5% for the referendum taking place tomorrow.
Thank you for the update.
there any questions for the superintendent? Okay, moving on to the next item, the non-renewal of contracts for non-tenured teachers.
So we have a list of staff members here that were on one-year assignments or as long-term substitutes that by state legislation need to be non-renewed. So if at this time, if I could read the names: Megan Boyes, Laura Foss-Marola, Rosemary Elvson, Victoria Manetti, Kristen Kavanaugh, Erica Bajak, and Dana Davenport.
Do we have a motion for consideration?
I'll move the contracts of employment for the following non-tenured teachers not be renewed for the 2022-2023 school year upon their expiration at the end of the current school year. Megan Boulez, Laura Foss Mariel, Rosemary Elfson, Victoria Manetti, Kristen Kavanaugh, Erica Babjack, and Dana Davenport.
The motion by Adam, do we have a second? Second. Second by Carrie. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 9-0. Moving on to the state healthy food certification statement for July 1, 2022 through July 30th, 2023. I can't believe we're already at this point in our school year where this is on our agenda. So here we are. And would you like to share a little bit about it, or?
Sure. Annually, we need to, has to come to the board for a vote. And really what we're doing is we're certifying that we are going to participate in the healthy foods. We're only going to provide certified food items that are sold, meet those requirements, the Connecticut Nutrition Standards as published in Section 10-21 of the Connecticut State General Statutes. In order for us to qualify for the various commodities that are purchased at the state level through the plan, we need to certify that we're part of the healthy foods and that we want to be part of it. And so this is just an annual event that takes place, and we've met that requirement in years past. So this is just almost a formality yearly that we do this.
Yeah, so we'll entertain a motion, then we can have a discussion if there's any questions. Who would like to throw out this motion?
I'm happy to continue on the.
Go ahead, Adam, all you.
All right, I'm only saying it once though. All right, move that the Berlin Board of Education will participate in the optional Healthy Food Certification Program pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 10-250 and F for a period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and certify that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut Nutrition Standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with Connecticut Nutrition Standards. This certification will include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations or groups. The board will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut Nutrition Standards and beverages not listed in Section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. Number 1, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. Number 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held.
Thank you so much. I'm glad you have a water. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
The motion by Adam, the second by Carrie. Now we can open it up to discussion. Is there any discussion on this?
So, I do have discussion because in order for us, I'm really sorry, Adam, you're gonna be mad at me, but.
Are you amending?
No, no, you are. In order to do this has to be 2 separate votes. You have to vote on the first section and we have to adopt that,
Mhm.
and
And
then
then
we
vote
have
on
to
the
do a second
section.
You're right.
vote for allowing the sale after school hours, and if we don't, the state will not accept our
That's right, that was
motion
in
on
the first
here,
paragraph of the state thing.
and
Good job.
will be,
All right, where does the first one end?
So at
By
school organization and groups.
And groups.
So two.
Right in the,
So
like, almost
we-
right in the middle.
9 line down.
so I think that first we have to
Redo it.
drop this Tim.
I will
you're the-
rescind.
I guess I would amend it
Oh, man.
up to,
Well, it's two separate votes, so you
Yeah, no, I think I have to rescind and start
have to
over.
rescind,
Rescind and start over.
and
do
then
the
we have
first
to do
half.
one motion, vote on it,
And then second.
and then a second motion and vote on it.
Every year this one is
I know, because I
something.
just did this in the town that I work
Oh,
in.
perfect. Well,
So-
good catch. Thank you.
Okay.
Couldn't have said something before.
thanks for waiting until after the motion. Ready, second.
Well, I'm not allowed to until it's open for discussion.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
If
true.
I may
I wouldn't
rescind,
have liked.
if I may rescind my original motion, I will make a new motion.
Plus, I like to hear you
So wait, is Adam rescinding or Tim
Yes,
rescinding?
Adam is
No.
rescinding.
Adam,
rescinding.
okay, well, we said Tim a second ago.
We wanted his
Going again.
expertise because he's Robert's.
You ready?
Rule of Order. Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
We
Move,
feel it.
move that the Berlin Board of Education will participate in the optional healthy food certification program pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 10-215F, for a period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2023, and certifying that all food items offered for sale to students in the schools under its jurisdiction and not exempted from the Connecticut nutrition standards published by the Connecticut State Department of Education will comply with the Connecticut nutrition standards. This certification shall include all food offered for sale to students separately from reimbursable meals at all times and from all sources, including but not limited to school stores, vending machines, school cafeterias, culinary programs, and any fundraising activities on school premises sponsored by the school or non-school organizations and groups.
So we have a motion by Adam. Do we have a second? Second. Carrie. Any discussion? Now we
Not
can
on this
vote.
one.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9-0. Now we can move to the second part of it
All right.
that talks about unhealthy foods.
So, second motion. I'll move that the board will allow the sale to students of food items that do not meet the Connecticut nutrition standards and beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. Number one, the sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on a weekend. Number two, the sale is at the location of the event. And three, the food and beverage items are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. For example, soccer games, school plays, and interscholastic debates are events, but soccer practices, play rehearsals, and debate team meetings are not. The regular school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held.
Do we have a second?
That's
Who seconded it first? Okay, Carrie. Any discussion on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9-0. Well done. Revision.
Excuse me,
Yes,
before we move on,
please.
there is a third exemption here regarding beverages. So we just exempted food for after school and at events, but there's a third option for beverages. And if we don't adopt the exemption for beverages, and then when you go to a football game, you would not be able to sell to students
hot cocoa.
soda, or literally hot cocoa because of the sugar content. So if that's the case, we have one more vote relative to the beverage exemption.
Would you like to make that motion?
And with that, as I watch Adam quickly try to scroll and find it,
look at
I
you.
will
You have
do
it?
it, which is,
Oh.
move that the Board of Education or governing authority will allow the sale to students of beverages not listed in section 10-221Q of the Connecticut General Statutes, provided that the following conditions are met. One, The sale is in connection with an event occurring after the end of the regular school day or on the weekend. 2, the sale is at the location of the event. And 3, the beverages are not sold from a vending machine or school store. An event is an occurrence that involves more than just a regularly scheduled practice, meeting, or extracurricular activity. The school day is the period from midnight before to 30 minutes after the end of the official school day. Location means where the event is being held and must be the same place as the beverage sales.
Second. So the motion by Matt, the second by Carrie. Any discussion, other than it's not on here? And you got that on page 2 of the healthy food certification,
Yeah.
correct?
Beverage part of.
Perfect, thank you for that catch.
I have a lot of notes here for how this goes year to year, so we'll definitely have it as 3 separate next year, and the optional beverage part will be there also.
Hold on a second.
And it's not on my.
Option to combine food and beverage exemptions is listed after that.
Yeah, but I didn't choose that one because we just did a
But
food
reading
one.
that one is effectively, I think, what Adam read.
No, mine was only food.
No, he read the
No.
first one.
The optional one in the certification document says the board or governing authority will allow the sale of students of food items that do not meet the
Yeah, but it doesn't
Connecticut
say
nutrition
beverages.
So, it doesn't say the sale of
and beverages.
beverage items.
You say
It says here, but it says food and beverage items are not sold.
Food items that do
Right, it
not
says-
meet the following food conditions, standards, and beverages. It's the exact optional motion language at the bottom of page 2.
Oh, so you think it includes beverages? I had to
think
look
we're-
back to what we did last year on this, whether we actually
I
did.
think we're
the
covered
three.
either way, though.
Yeah.
Either way, I think we're
Either
covered.
way, we're good.
I'll make sure it's broken up in 3 next year. I don't make notes here. I apologize.
So when people say we rubber stamp things, clearly not doing
Well,
it here.
It used to be only 2 votes. This year they made it 3.
3, so it's new. Well, thank you for that.
Sorry.
Please do not apologize. No, that's great. Any additional discussion?
Just for the record, I don't think we need the third one.
Okay.
think
I
we're covered,
appreciate that,
but,
no.
I don't think we're necessarily causing any trouble by adding the third one in, but we're extra sugar, I guess.
Agreed, but you're dealing with the state and separating them from their food funds.
I'd go for 4 next year personally, but it's
We'll be more
I'll remember that
attentive.
next year, don't worry. Any other discussion? It's a lot shorter of a discussion than in past years when we've
Well, I think we're kind of,
Figured it out
used to
now.
it at this point.
Yes.
I mean, the reality is, we were always concerned about our concessions for sporting events, right? I think that now that that's covered for all those things, and, I think that we're a little more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
So, we also haven't discussed this, but the waiver goes out of effect July 1st, so free meals go away. So we go back to, unless you're a free and reduced status, it's paid for
Right.
meals. And there's some significant concern about how that is gonna impact food services across the state, because for the last 2.5+ years, students are used to coming to school and getting all their meals for free. And that's not gonna be the case. So we just need to be prepared for that.
We had a discussion today at Cabinet about that.
Yeah.
So we are looking at what numbers we need for food service. As you know, our food service is at the point where we break even, or we make a minimal amount. So looking at what the actual lunch prices will be that we haven't had to adjust in years because everyone's been included. So we're talking about that right now.
And we also need to pay attention to the new legislation about school lunch debt. I know there's a policy that we're gonna have to adopt at some point. But-
Or policies.
Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff out there around this.
The ad hoc committee loves getting together to talk about policy.
Oh, you guys have been meeting a lot lately.
Because there's a lot of policy at this time of year.
Right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9-0. All right, we are moving on to the revisions for the 2021-2022 school calendar. I know this was just discussed in the committee meeting, so I'll turn it over to Superintendent Benigni.
So we met with the curriculum committee prior to the meeting, and the adjustments, we always wait till the April meeting to look at the current year calendar, when we know there won't be any more snow days. So a few adjustments, graduation, no, I'll knock on wood, yes. Graduation is on the 10th of June. We'd like to have that as early release day. We know that we have a number of staff members that attend, as well as students, and it just doesn't make sense to have the early release day so that they can be prepared for the graduation, as it impacts many people in the community. The 13th and 14th are the Monday and Tuesday. We didn't move any days to half-day Wednesdays and things. We would like to have those as early release days, Monday and Tuesday of that last week. And the 15th, which is the Wednesday, we'd like to turn that into a professional development day, which would allow us to do curriculum work while we have all staff on. So we would be going from the 181 to the 180 days. The last day, 180 days for students, their last day would be on the 14th with the early release, and then the 15th would be the last day for staff. So the three changes were the Friday, going to early release, Monday and Tuesday, early release, and then the 15th going to a PD day versus a student day. Those were the suggestions for the remaining 2021 school calendar.
Thank you. So we will go to a motion and then we can open it up to discussion. Do we have a motion for consideration?
I move to approve the revisions of the 2021-2022 school calendar as presented.
Second. So the motion by Melissa, second by Carrie. Any discussion?
Just out of curiosity, do you know when finals are at the high school level?
The finals have changed, so they're not giving finals in the old manner where there used to be locked-in days for finals and so on. That was changed. I want to say last year was the first year, and they continued this year.
Couldn't change it when I was in high school.
No, they couldn't do that for you. But there might be end-of-the-year exams, but they would take place in a normal school. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how we're handling. So it doesn't have as much implications as it used to on the end of the year.
Okay.
Any other questions, discussion?
Yeah, I need to talk to McGee. One thing is about having the McGee promotion. I know the elementary schools do their 5th grade promotions. The McGee promotion, Mr. Urso talked about Friday in the morning. I think it'd be more likely to be on the 14th, now it's early release. Typically, he does it on the last day. The 8th grade comes in. I know he's planning on setting up outside, provided the weather's nice, and doing something at the school. It won't be at the fairgrounds like it's been in the past. But I'll let you know more about that. I'll post it on the board update and obviously communicate to parents.
Yeah, the 10th would be a very busy day.
Yeah,
with
too
the high
busy,
school
right. That's
graduation
my
as well.
thought also.
Okay, any other questions or comments or discussion?
Would you two students prefer these to be full days and stay there a little bit longer, or?
I'm done the 10th.
I was gonna say, you're done on the 10th.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9-0. And then moving on to the 2022-2023 calendar, which will mirror the recently adopted 2023-2024. No?
It mirrors there's no changes to it. The one discussion we had in the committee is just looking at, I know we changed a lot of the early release PD days, and we front-loaded most of the full PD days, take place by February. The thought is, in the future, not this time, that the need to have some additional PD towards the end of the year is important. There's many things that are taking place at the state level. One is that the IUP system is now, we're all going to be following a new plan that the state is rolling out for all of our individual education plans, which will, as any state rollout of a new plan, takes considerable time and resources, especially if those are legal documents. There's concern, as well as the last 2 years, the PD that has been able to take place, being that we've been virtual and in and out, the need for PD is great. And the other part is, if we do have the PD during the school year, during the actual school days when students are present, the concern is that we have to hire subs, and there's a cost to that. But beyond the cost, there's also the availability of subs is very, very limited. The need for potential more PD is something that we would look for in the future, but we did not put anything on this calendar. We kept it as such at this point.
Okay, do we have a motion for consideration?
I'll move to approve the revision for the 2022-2023 school calendar as presented.
Do you have a second? Motion by Carrie, second by Gina. And now any discussion?
The February break PD, was that switched to be consistent with, we did one of the years, was this changed as well? Where the PD goes on the back end? rather
Yeah, I
than-
think we moved it, that was a suggestion, we moved it to the back to a Tuesday
That makes
versus,
sense.
instead of having the Thursday, we gave it to the Tuesday, so it extends that weekend.
All right, and then graduation is locked in for the 9th, and then we deal with any snow days after that?
That's correct, yep.
So Sam, you're graduating on the 9th, that's good to know.
You know, if school ending on the 9th is,
A dream.
I didn't say dream, it's almost a dream, but it's a good thought.
Single digit.
It's a good thought, and it's a single digit in the second week like that hasn't happened in a long time, but we'll see.
Any other comments or questions? Right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 9-0. All right, moving on. We received a request from Mr. Holmes back in March to name the Berlin High School basketball court in honor of Mike Louisiano. Oh, got it right, good. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this over to Superintendent Benigni to talk a little bit more about, and we can discuss it more as a board.
So I think it's important, we did receive the number of signatures, I did speak to Mark Holmes, some of the signatures, they were all verified, and it actually some additional signatures just in case at that point. But I think it's important that, refer to policy 1181, which is enclosed here, which gives the makeup of the subcommittee that needs to be formed. So the hope is that from this board meeting, we form the subcommittee and decide who's on the subcommittee. We'll then set up a time for the subcommittee to meet prior to the next board meeting, have discussions, and then come back to the board. That subcommittee will come and then report to the board. So if you want me to, I can open up and.
Yeah, I know Superintendent Benigni and I briefly talked about what that subcommittee would look like. We can share that out and then see what the board has to say, and then you guys can add your thoughts. Do you have the parameters?
Yes, I do.
Right there? Okay. So there are certain parameters of who needs to be on the subcommittee.
Just get that here.
You want a copy?
What's that? You have a copy there? I have it here, I just gotta, I'm
Oh, I
digging
have
through.
it right here too,
You have it too, I'm
actually.
digging through it to get to mine, I have it here.
So-
I mean, here's right here. I
Right
have it
here.
I have it right here too. The chair of the Board of Education is the ex officio of the superintendent. One member of the Finance and Operations Committee, an administrator, a teacher, a parent of a student enrolled at Berlin Public Schools, two residents of the community not represented above. So, it's 1, 2.
And that's
So-
minimum requirements.
Minimum requirements.
Minimum, yeah.
Yep.
So obviously I will be on it, and Superintendent Benigni. I know that Adam has requested to be on that as the member of the Finance and Operations Committee. I know that that committee consists of 3 members, so I don't know if anyone else would like to be on it, you're more than welcome to, but we will name Adam as one member. If you would like to be on it, Matt or Tim, just speak now, we can have more than one.
I'll be on it.
Okay. We'll do Adam, Matt. Do you have any thoughts on the administrator, or does any board members? What?
Or is he too close?
No, we can ask Sal to be on, Sal will be
Yeah, I
fine.
would ask Sal.
I just think I want to draw your attention, looking at the policy a little further. It states individuals considered shall have served in the continuous employment of the Berlin Board of Education for an extended period, usually in excess of 10 years, which I know that Mike has, with the name being submitted after separation from compensated service for a minimum period of 1 year, and be a non-employee of the Board of Education who has made exceptional contribution to children of Berlin Public Schools for an extended period of time, which I think that criteria is there. The 1 year, I don't know how the board wants to look at that, whether it's 1 year or it's by the time that it's named, it's 1 year. I don't know how the board wants to interpret that.
I've interpreted it as by the time it's named, so we start the committee now and get it together, and then at the 1 year mark, we name it. But I don't know.
I read the 1 year as if the person were still with us and, having a little separation between retirement, when they were with us and then when they've retired. I think these are unique circumstances, and I would leave it up to others to determine. I mean, whether it's announced it but named a year later. But I think that in these circumstances with the passing of Coach V, I think that that year was more of a buffer for somebody that was still with us.
You know, I just want to make sure that as a collective group, we're meeting the policy. If someone's not, we go through all of this and then say, well, it didn't meet this criteria.
Mm-hmm.
I think it should be announced, but then named at that 1 year mark, and I think that might be a really nice thing for the family as well. I just think we want to make sure we are within the parameters of our policy, so it doesn't come back later.
In the 1 year will be during basketball season.
Absolutely.
So I think it would be really special.
That's fair.
Any other thoughts on the 1 year? Okay, so you said Mr. Urso, you'll reach out
Yep,
to
I
the
got Sal and
administrators.
then a teacher.
Okay, any suggestions on teachers?
My suggestion is that we ask if there's teachers who would like to serve.
Yeah.
Same parents.
You have a slew of parents. Yeah, I think we need.
Well, I guess you can't limit it, but you can limit it.
Well,
You're gonna have to.
That's easy enough to do. We'll get the teacher, we'll have Eileen send something out to the high school staff. As far as the parents go, I know that my residents of the community not represented above, I know Mark Holmes asked to be on the committee.
Yes.
So
So I would like to ask Mark Holmes, in looking at the policy, it says, once initiated, the president of the Board of Education shall select a subcommittee for the purpose of reviewing the proposal. I think the subcommittee, we should select a teacher at this time, and then if additional teachers and parents would like to, then we're not gonna exclude them, I think, but throwing it out to the whole community like that, it's gonna become really overwhelming. Do you have a teacher in mind?
sure, I think Jason Pyrus would be a good person to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
We do need another resident of Berlin that doesn't meet any other criteria. Do you want to ask the current coach who filled in for Mike Veneziano this year?
Glowiak, Stan?
Stan Glowiak, who lives in town.
Lives in town. Anyone have any objections to that? I don't, so that's fine. You can ask.
So anyone?
And 2 residents.
You have the 2 residents.
You have Mark and Stan. If you
Mark
do
and
that.
Stan.
So then we need a
you-
parent of a student enrolled. I prefer to
can.
have someone who's like not affiliated with Board of Ed. You wanna do Bob? Yeah.
I think it makes sense.
Bob Sisti?
Yep.
Perfect.
So it's Julia, myself, Matt, Sal Urso, Jason Pyrus, Bob Sisti, Mark Holmes, and Stan Glowiak, if everyone agrees.
I think I'm still on it though, no?
You're still on it.
Okay.
There's
Oh,
just
sorry.
2 members of the
Matt and Adam.
Board
Sorry,
and
Adam.
Finance.
Sorry, Adam. Didn't mean to leave you out.
You can take me off.
No.
No, you're saying no.
No, it's all right.
Keep it on.
Seriously, you can take me off. You can remove me.
It's a minimum number.
That's fine. I trust you.
I haven't heard that before.
I think, just my opinion, I think you should just open it up to a couple other individuals. I don't like just picking people and not opening it up for, I just don't, it just doesn't,
No,
it doesn't settle well
I agree with
with
you
me.
in that sense, and that's why I said, I think we have to assign these people at this meeting in accordance to the policy, but we're gonna be inclusive.
Just in general, I just like to open it up in general, other teachers if they want to, other parents, other community members. I mean, these are all people that, yes, I know him, but I just want it to be
Yeah,
available to
no,
other
and that's why I
individuals.
said it's gonna be inclusive in nature.
You know what I mean?
But to adopt this evening and move forward with it, the subcommittee needs to be appointed by the board chair.
But it doesn't need to be appointed
selected.
tonight.
The language,
So I just want to say, Jamie, I appreciate you saying that because the reason I asked to come off of the thing is because as I'm listening to who's going on it, I think that I'm gonna have an opposing viewpoint to some things, but it's stacked, in my opinion, this is stacked in favor of we're going to do this. So I don't want to be part of that because I will be the one voice that maybe goes the other way. And I don't know that. I want to hear all the criteria first. I really didn't know, Mike. But as I'm listening to all the people that are going on this, they're all going to, everybody on this is going to say yes. Because that's what the agenda is. So I am going to opt not to be on it, but I agree with you, Jamie, is I appreciate what you said because I do feel like we're putting a committee together this is just going to be yes.
There just has to be an objective point of view all around.
Which I do agree with, and I appreciate you pointing out. But for the record, the policy reads, the process shall be initiated by action of the Board of Education or by the presentation to the board of a petition representing the signatures of 100 registered voters, which this is it. So it was initiated. Then it says, once initiated, the president of the Board of Education shall select a subcommittee for the purpose of reviewing the proposal. And the subcommittee shall consist of. So it does say in the policy that I do need to select these people. However, I'm not set on these.
But
That's
you don't have
fine.
to select it tonight.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
We do not have to select it tonight. That is correct.
I think it's just, you want to get interested parties so that everybody's voice is heard, so that you have an objective point of view, so that, like Matt said, you're not
But the
stuck.
way I was seeing was, okay, we can put some of these people on and then open it up to anyone else who wants to come. But I think if it turns into one of the things of we're putting in the citizen and sending an email out to everyone, it's going to then become overwhelming. So I'm more than happy to hear everyone else's thoughts on this. I don't disagree with you in any way. I was just.
Do you think this is something we should bring up at the community engagement meeting when we meet on Wednesday?
Can we add it to the agenda still?
Absolutely. It's in 24 hours. And it's we can add it to the meeting, not a problem at all.
And I think to Jamie and Matt's point, the notion of putting something in the Berlin Citizen via an email to the high school and middle school population, that covers everybody in the town. If you're interested, reach out to the board. It is still your discretion. If 150 names come in, that doesn't mean we're going to have a committee of 154 people. You can say no to all 150 of them that come in and work off of the list that's been built. And as Matt said, that list doesn't have to be finalized tonight and shouldn't be finalized tonight because of the fact that we should have outside people who aren't here, who couldn't find the meeting on the Board of Ed website.
Well, that's a whole other thing. It's actually not that difficult, but maybe they can get
That,
tutored by you.
'cause
you're
the
the
opportunity's there.
genius.
But again, ultimately it's your decision to add or not add any of those people there. But I don't think there's a rush either, given the timeline of things, to have to button this up tonight.
Which is fair, yeah. Can we just have one meeting though? Just
Yeah.
go ahead, Jamie. Go
I
ahead
was
and
just
share.
gonna say, I don't think you necessarily need to put it in the paper per se, I mean, you
Right.
could, but, I mean, with putting it out through the school.
Messenger.
Thank you. The thing, because we're so into transparency and making sure that it's open to everybody, you wanna be sure that you include anybody who would, be willing or wanting to participate
Yeah,
in
I
this.
don't disagree.
So, I mean,
Honestly, I didn't
don't know
even
if
think
the
about
papers
that
are out.
prior
I'm just-
to. I was just.
I don't know the best way to, I don't know the best way to.
Right,
but-
just prior to the meeting, my thought process was, I read the policy, I had a conversation, and I thought, okay, we put this in place and move forward, and it's in lines of the policy. I do respect and understand the additional viewpoints, and I think it's important. Tracy, what were your thoughts?
No, I was just asking what, like a way to reach how we could effectively, openly, transparently reach people, so they wouldn't think we were stacking or whatnot. That's all. I was just asking would be the good direction to do that.
No, that's fine. In thinking about it, and this is just me being transparent with my thoughts, I fear, because I fear a lot of things, especially with backlash that have come up over the past 9 months in our town, is we open it up, we have them send emails, and they don't get selected, and then it gets personal, then it's on social media, then it's in the private groups, and then it's the Board of Ed. So by following the policy, the Board of Education, once initiated, the president of the Board of Education shall select a subcommittee. I'm fine with tabling this and putting it on the next month's agenda, but I am reluctant in certain areas to open us as a board, us as a school district, up for more criticism. And I think it's my job to also protect us at this table from the people in town who want to come after us for every little thing we do that is not correct in their view.
So there's no action to this
Right.
evening. I think that the board can make the decision to put the committee together. Again, it's still no action, we're just agreeing as a board, yes, we're gonna put that together. And now we work through the policy to determine the people who will be on the committee.
And within the policy, there is no requirement for action either. It is at the discretion
Correct.
of
It's at the
the president of the
discretion
board to select the
of the
committee.
board.
Whether or not you report on that to us is not even defined here, so you don't have to,
So I will.
technically.
Right, I will take all of that into account. We will put it on the Community Engagement Committee meeting, and I will report back at next month's meeting. Action won't be taken until I report back, but I will certainly take everything into account.
And just think about how you want to communicate, how you're looking,
100%.
how you're looking to get the information.
I think the communication is crucial, I do. I also think it's important to consider not opening ourselves up for additional criticism. But by considering that component, that's also considering that side, so.
I don't think we can worry about criticism, to be perfectly honest,
No, I think it's naming it
no
though.
matter what choice we make, someone's not gonna be happy. It's like being a referee.
Right.
Or no matter what call is made, one side is happy, one side's not happy. We have to do what we think is right for the students, the district, and our staff. And that's the end of it.
Which
So-
is absolutely
So just,
fine, I agree. I'm not really concerned, I'm just naming it for the sake, yes?
I'm just a little confused as to why with these kids who have put this petition together.
It's not kids, it's
not kids,
registered
it's
voters.
registered voters.
They're
Registered
adults,
voters.
18
But the
and older.
student wrote the letter.
No, an adult.
Oh, that was a student.
No, it's a registered voter, he's on the Board of Finance.
Okay. Okay, so I was confused. when
elected
I thought it
official in
was the
town.
students who were
no,
in favor, but there were
he
students that wrote letters
had
regarding bike
student letters
yeah.
as backup to the
Correct.
petition
Okay, so that's what I was
for
reading.
the request.
It was registered voters who signed the petition.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, just totally objective, what would be so oppositional in giving him the gym, giving the name, Mike, the name?
Not the whole gym, the gym's already named.
Okay, so why is that so
Well, 'cause we have to
oppositional?
Do the
What's the
policy.
opposition
I mean,
to
what's the
it?
criteria that has
Like,
to be
what
met
would,
in
why
order
would someone
to?
oppose it?
Oh.
Yeah,
oh.
I'm just
'Cause a
trying
lot
to
of people-
understand.
You gotta think people come to us to name certain things more often than probably people think. So we have to have like criteria into.
So I guess I'm asking,
So like,
what's-
some people are turned away, some people aren't, like there has to be like that
And we
criteria.
can't name something for every single person.
Right.
And-
And this committee, if I'm understanding this, the committee will come together, meet a few times, whatnot, then they bring their recommendations to us.
Okay.
We still, they can come to us and say, we absolutely want this, but we could all meet and be like, it's really not meeting what we want, and it's enough. Am I correct on that too?
You're right, and
Okay.
the thing was, the committee
So there's a
wasn't.
criteria that has to be met in order to actually
And that's
give name to that.
And that's what she was reading in the policy that we did like a year or two ago.
Right, the committee wasn't always in place.
Right,
And
no, I
we had others come
understand
to the
that,
board
but- okay.
to name things, and there wasn't really a process in place. So this committee structure was recommended by Shipman Go in as their model of how the naming, and that the board approved of what, I could give you the dates here on the policy.
There's also just a lot that come, over time, not frequent, but that comes to the board with naming. And the board is kind of like, it's on our lap to make that decision without a committee, so the committee is important. Matt, would you like to share anything on that?
This was adopted at August 25th, 21.
Last year.
Yeah,
That's
last year,
last
so it's just last year, the naming.
There was a lot of
process.
talk about it, though, for quite some time.
Right, yes, because we had other items.
We had some other instances in
Correct.
recent years that
Yes.
it wasn't clearly defined, so the decision was to lay out, here's a path to get to this.
Okay.
And we've had these types of things in the past where we don't have a really good reason why we want to say no to this or why we're going to say yes to this. And that leaves us in an awkward position in the future, right? We've only got this one high school premier gymnasium. You know, we've got the B gym for sure, but the A gym is where everything happens. This is a basketball coach who wants to is being requested to put their name on the basketball court. We play volleyball in there. We play other sports in there.
Wrestling in there.
Yeah, that's at times.
At a time.
You know, but the point being is that there are other sports being played in there. There are other coaches who have coached in that gym. I'm just, to answer your question objectively and hypothetically, there could be people out there who think that so-and-so who coached in the 40s is the person who this gym should be named for.
I understand.
You know, those types of things.
That makes sense.
So we don't know. We don't know. But at least, as Brian said, having this policy now at least lays out some pretty solid criteria as to how we should do this, because there were some things that have come in the past that were a little less
But
formed.
wouldn't those folks have to have come forward and request that somebody in the
did.
40s should be,
Oh, for
have their
sure.
name? So
For
if
sure.
they're not requesting or asking for it, how do you, where do you,
And that's the
What do
thing,
you
right?
do?
With the
I mean-
committee, and the move forward, absent another request, then the committee needs to take this one on its face and determine if it is appropriate. Perhaps this committee forming and moving forward jostles somebody to come forward and say, wait a minute,
that's what I was just gonna say.
maybe
with
this other
other
person should be
requests.
considered, and then we wind up with another proposal in front of us.
But then at least it's not leaving it all on the Board of Ed to
Right.
make that decision every
Gotcha.
time, and then we all really like that person and supported that person, but not the other person, as a board.
Right.
As
I
one, so
understand.
then there's another board that includes various stakeholders within our community.
And in the last, just a note, in the last few years, we've had a number of coaches that were actively coaching that have passed. And we've had, Rex Smith with the tennis courts. We've had Jim Day with the B gym is now
Right,
named for.
that's right, yep.
And now we have Mike Veneziano. So, there's been a number of instances that have prompted similar discussions as this.
But now, if I'm not mistaken, the tennis courts were not under our purview.
They did, there was not, they did do the signatures, but it went to Park and Rec.
Correct.
Because it was outside, the Park and Rec controls the outside.
Yes.
Exactly, absolutely. So, there has been, how we're navigating through it, and that there should be a process to stay consistent so that everyone feels that regardless whether it's someone who, has passed while in the active role or someone from, 30 years ago, that there's a consistent process, that everyone gets a fair assessment of being named.
It's not about, at least for me, my perspective is not about Coach V. He did great things with the kids, and he should be honored. It's about the bigger
The big picture.
district-wide picture. Is what is the precedent that says, how do we make sure that everything has been discussed, aligned, and it's not gonna have.
And decided upon without everybody's
Correct.
input, right.
Thank you for bringing those thoughts up, though. I think it really helps. And I think also as we were thinking about it, we're thinking, about this person who was loved by so many, and we're going through the names of the people who would really like to be a part of it, but not considering the other view. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. So I will report back at the next meeting, and we can put that on our agenda at our committee meeting for this week.
It'll be on there.
Great. So Shipman and Goodwin has recommended revisions to the above policies as noted on the summary sheet posted in Schoology. A second reading, this is the second reading and adoption of the policies. So I will go ahead for a motion, and then once we have seconded that motion, we can open it up for discussion. Do I have a motion for consideration?
Move that the board adopt the revised policies listed above as presented.
There's a second?
I'll second.
So motion by Melissa, second by Tim. Any discussion on these policies, these 9 policies?
Do we have any changes to these? To my knowledge, did we receive anything in the last month or two since first reading?
No, I didn't receive anything. I
Okay.
listened to it,
So these policies, from the ad hoc perspective, we're good.
Okay.
We've got something in the first reading of the next that we'll talk about.
Okay. All those in
Hey,
favor?
just one
Yeah.
comment.
No, do your one comment.
Policy 1331, prohibition against smoking. And I mentioned this to Brian as well. I was at a tennis match during spring break for my daughter, and the smell of marijuana was pretty pungent coming from the basketball court area. And I just want to make sure that when we're talking, and just get it on the record, I mean, obviously it says here, this is all school grounds, inside or outside. And I know that the basketball courts still are part of school property.
Absolutely.
And we talked about maybe having security or police going through there.
If I could just.
Yeah, and the policy specifies marijuana too, but.
Yep.
So I put a call in this
Yes.
morning to the police chief and asked for a meeting with myself, police chief, and John Smoltz, our security director. I spoke to John last week, who'll be making trips down there. And, the bigger issue, whether we have to have security there or not, when we have a school event on the tennis courts, there needs to be more vigilance down there to make sure. The issue is that the basketball courts are lit at night, and it's not always just Berlin students that are playing, it's often people from other towns and so on. And I've gotten complaints from parents in the neighborhood about trash, noise, and so on in the area too. So there needs to be some coordination with the police and security about how to make sure that it's a safe environment, and that it's just not a good reflection of Berlin Public Schools when we're having a tennis match and that smell and I've also heard from another parent that the radios are cranking and everything else. It's just not. It's not a great representation of how it should be taking place when we have a interscholastic athletic event going on. So,
Brian, I don't know the answer to this, but do we have posted at those facilities that there's no smoking on school grounds of that? I know that, I can't think of it being posted, but is it?
there were rules at one point posted. I'm not sure if they're still there.
I'm just thinking because that kind of doesn't necessarily deter, but it certainly helps enforcement, right? You can't say you didn't know. It's posted right there.
A few years ago, when I overlooked at the trash that was there were rules posted, but I can't tell you I haven't over to look to see at this time if they're still there.
Yeah, are you talking about just during events, like if there's a tennis match, nobody can smoke marijuana there?
No.
Or
No.
is it period, no,
It's-
because that's all I kept saying was tennis matches.
No.
Or period overall, nobody can smoke anything there?
It's period that no one should be smoking there, but the point is, are we, at this point, are we gonna pay and have a security staff member there till 10 o'clock at night when the lights go out to ensure this is happening? At the immediacy of it, to start to implement it, I think when there's an event going on, a tennis match going on, a track meet or something, we should have security and or police there to ensure that it's not taking place to start. Obviously, it shouldn't be taking place all the time. We're working on getting a night security staff member. But I don't think a night security staff member alone, without police support, is gonna go down. We have two basketball courts full with people playing.
It's a hot spot, my
Yeah,
kid, like,
exactly.
middle school, high school, they meet every day after school, all day on weekends, it's a huge.
Can you just put a camera out there?
But there's a lot of people from other towns there, they play other
That's a
towns, like it's a pickup game, so
Right.
it's like
Or just so you
And
can see the
and it's not always even school-age students.
No,
who are
it's not,
playing,
it's
adults
adults, it's
sometimes.
it's.
So there needs to be, that's why I asked for a meeting with the chief. So I left a message this morning. I left it with his assistant, so I'm sure he'll call me back tomorrow, and we'll get that meeting and try to make sure this is taken care of. But I think Adam brings up a good point, and it needs to be closer. There needs to be closer monitoring of it. There really does.
Don't be sorry, thank
just had one
you.
point. Yeah.
That's it.
Any other comments, questions before we move to a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, 9-0. Now we are moving on to the policy review and revision of the first reading, and I believe, Tim, would you like to share out? I know you guys just met as a committee, and you said there was something you want to bring up.
Yeah, most of these policies are all normal and standard going forward type stuff, a lot of legal language and references to things, et cetera. The one that we want to call to people's attention is policy 9035, the bylaw, meeting conduct. The page 6, under public address, the section A, subsection 1, if you've got that policy coming up, has basically 2 blanks in there, X minutes may be allotted, and a maximum of X minutes to each subject matter. We talked about it in the ad hoc committee, and we feel 3 minutes in the first blank and 15 minutes in the second blank. Current policy, I think, has those numbers at 3 and 9.
3 and 9, yeah.
We've always, I think, kind of talked about it as a board and as committees, that 9 always kind of seems a little aggressive and nobody really follows it. We usually listen to 5 or 10 people on a topic. So we figured 3 and 15, with the keys here being that we're using phrasing like or actually may be. So we are not mandating with this bylaw that it will be 3 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic, but it may be those. But we certainly didn't feel that it should be open and left to be blanks or just generalized to time may be allotted. Putting specific time in there, it's always something that the chair will have the opportunity to enforce or restrict or expand upon if the topic is appropriate.
That's still in the language, correct?
It's may be allotted to each speaker.
And
The
it-
board may modify these
Right, and
limitations.
the board may modify the limitations at the beginning of the meeting if the number wishing to speak is, so like if there's like so many people wanting to speak and we have a full agenda, we had talked about how it'd be up to the board chair discretion to be like, we're only gonna, we have to stop now and go on to something else because we have so much we have to get
Right.
accomplished on. So that's why that's also worded, right, Tim, that we can
Yes.
keep it, yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing finite and specific in here.
Right.
Other than, at the worst, if we didn't have anything else to fall back on, we can always say 3 and 15 is what the policy is on a particular person and topic. But, as I've said, in the past, we as a board have had people speak for 5 minutes on a topic because we've been willing to hear that one person talk about that one topic. Other times, we've listened to 20 people talk for 45 minutes about a topic. So, but again, like I said, that was the only concern, that, it was completely open-ended by having the lines in there, so.
Okay, thank you. And would either of you like to share on the the social media use policy?
I'll defer to Tracy on that. She's,
Well, it's a bylaw, it's not gonna be a policy, it's a bylaw. And basically, it's not, it's kinda near, so the teachers do something similar as well. So it's basically using your code of conduct, like how you represent yourself on social media as a board member. And we had met on this a couple times in our, community engagement committee. So if you have any questions as you looked at it, or you think there's anything, let us know. But, it wasn't too, like, harsh, but it was more just about how we conduct ourselves.
I think it's important to highlight that, myself as an individual, I am one person in my own individual, yet I am representing the entire board when I'm putting stuff out there. So if I'm putting something out there that's offensive or, a difficult topic, like, people are gonna associate me posting on public groups as speaking on behalf of the board. And, I know this went through the committee a few times. It just says, in using social media to communicate about district activities, the board members shall clarify that the communication is an individual member of the board, not the role of an official district spokesperson. And I think that's important. And this isn't like trying to censor people or get them to not be able to talk. Like, we think that's important. We do value and respect that. But we also have a policy about civility, and we also need to model what's expected of our children. And when our children the children in the school district don't act like that, they have consequences within the school. So why can the adults do that and act that way on social media? So I think it's best that we are modeling what digital citizenship looks like and being, a responsible digital citizen as role models, as board members, because we do this for the kids. It says, refrain from deliberating district business or communicating with a quorum of the board on social media, which may include commenting or otherwise responding to another board member's post concerning district business, because such communications will likely be deemed a meeting under the FOIA Act, Freedom of Information Act, Such communications violate the provision of the FOIA for several reasons, including the failure to post notice of the meetings and failure to allow access to the meeting by members of the public. Accordingly, board members must take care to ensure that their interactive communications do not constitute a meeting under FOIA. Direct complaints or concerns about the district and any harassing behavior presented online to the superintendent of schools or designee. Refrain from posting contact that indicates the reaching of a decision or opinion of matters pending before the board. Speak community input through channels identified by the board rather than personal social media account. Post only content that the district has already released to the public. Clarify when attempting to restate what happened at a previous board meeting that posting on the social media site is not an official record of such meeting. Refrain from sharing confidential information, such as anything that happens in executive session, because they're, not supposed to do that. Shared during a non-public discussion. Ensure that conduct engaged in online reflects well on the district and the board. Again, just like we expect our students and our faculty and all Berlin School employees to do, we shouldn't be any different. Retain electronic records, including board members' own posts and content others post to the board members' account when required to do so by the district's retention policy. Report immediately to the district any potential security breaches, including the board member loses control or possession of a district-issued or personal electronic communication device on which confidential district records of the board members' social media accounts could be accessed, and comply with the district's acceptable use policy when using district-issued devices or technologies like these iPads, the emails, any login, the Google Drive, but not limited to district internet access or personal electronic communication device. So for instance, if I sign on to the Wi-Fi in this room on my device and post on social media, that is going against the parameters of this policy. I think this is just really important. I think we're living in a time now where digital citizenship is crucial, and if we're not modeling what's expected, then that's just really a shame. I know there's been times where I've really had to practice restraint of tongue and pen and not post stuff in response to other people's accusatory posts of myself in particular. I haven't done it though, because I know I need to be a role model for students. And it's unfortunate that we are at a time today where we get this, but still to this day, I'm still getting screenshots of what people in town are posting about us, about our meetings, about the board, about transparency, lack thereof, whatever. So I just think sitting in this seat, you can do whatever you want, but I think this is really crucial. If we are expecting students to act and be a certain way, we need to model that. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the purpose of sitting at this table is. Would anyone else like to add anything? I'm sorry. Yeah, please. I just want to give it a few minutes.
So, I hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's 9 of us and our 2 students. I don't read social media, as you well know, but I find myself as a 46-year-old adult who holds myself responsible for my own actions and for how I portray myself out to people. And not that I feel like you're lecturing or whatnot, but I feel like we know this. I feel like we're adults at the table, that I don't feel like this group has had any issues per se, especially lately. I mean, I think that yes, there's some jadedness with what's been going on this past year, but I think for the most part we do pretty well with.
Yeah, no, I agree. This conversation actually started prior to even, this started over a year ago actually, before this current election.
Which I understand.
So it's not that I'm lecturing, but just from this, I really don't subscribe to social media that much myself. Like, I know you and I have had conversations. I'm signed out of it most of the time. It's a screenshots that I get from people who are in specific groups where they're sharing whatever they want. But again, I just think it's, if we're doing it already, then we don't need to worry about it. And then if we're not doing it, we're making the board look bad, we have a policy to fall back on. So I hear what you're saying. This conversation started long before in the committee, so I don't know if anyone else who, has been involved, Tracy or anyone else would like to share on it. But I understand what you're saying, Jamie.
I think the reason that, originally, we don't know why we talked about it before. I'm not sure, I agree with you, that we're pretty responsible and I think we hold ourselves at a good standard. It does have something to fall back on, not that anybody does any of this, at least what if somebody comes on that's elected that, we've had issues before, what if that happened? At least now there's a policy saying, well, we can't do that, but that's, is there anything in it that was too harsh? I kind of more took it like just etiquette, not.
Right.
But.
This is only the first reading too, so this is where we do have the discussion, so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Seems like a common sense bylaw. I don't know what half these things are, so I'll just trust you that we should stay off them. Or be kind on them.
Yes, it is common sense.
Superintendent Benigni, would you like to share on this policy or your thoughts or anything?
I just think when we put it together, we looked at 3 or 4 other policies and went through them and tried to think what was relevant and what had meaning to anyone that becomes on the board, and also to protect each other on the board. That, I think the notion was that we didn't want any board member to put something out to the public that the rest of the board wouldn't respect or agree upon. Because it is a reflection, even though when you speak, you're speaking as a board member, but you're a member of the board, so it's a reflection on the entire board. So I think a lot of it had to do with that notion. And then the specific piece is really just getting to more details about what should be posted and what shouldn't be posted. And I think that the bigger thing is if you're posting something, you should think about the rest of the board would accept what you're posting. That it's not something that you're making a statement without the rest of the board being okay with it. And I think that in the past, people in the board chair's role, putting things out that others don't necessarily approve of can cause issues, because who's speaking for the board, whether any of you speak, you're speaking as, yes, you might be speaking as your individual, but you are a board member, so it very easily can be inferred that you're speaking for the entire board.
But none of us speak for the board unless we are convened as the board.
100%,
but when you
so when people respond to anything, that is your individual opinion. It is not the opinion of the board, and you should not be identified or identifying yourself as a Berlin Education,
that's
Berlin
why,
Board of
as a
Education
parent,
board member.
as a resident, as a citizen, stating that is a way to do it.
100%, and I know that when I sat in the chair, I never spoke for the board unless the board directed me to do so, but we didn't engage in social media, period.
I think the difference is whether you state that you're speaking for the board or you're perceived as speaking for the board are two different things.
Agreed.
So it doesn't
Agreed.
matter whether you.
Well, and my position is, right, is whatever goes out on social media has no weight in any decisions. If it's important, they'll sit right here. And if they don't come sit right here, they can put whatever they want out there.
But I think also from the time where you sat in this seat till now, a lot has changed. And there's been a lot more on social media, especially over the past 2 years, where we have had members of the board engage, past members, which then caused the board to
Agreed.
get this
But they
policy
shouldn't-
going almost 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, this is when this started.
But I will just say, I'm with Adam. I think it's common sense, and I also don't understand half of what, I don't know half of what's in it, so, because it's not something I am engaged with, but it does seem like it's a common sense bylaw to have.
Well, this doesn't affect you on the
Personally.
board, it affects
Yeah.
you professionally,
Mhm.
personally.
Yeah.
So
But I
for
do
me,
think
it's
it's
just
common- I think it's
common sense.
Yeah, I do.
I think the concern also is that people post things or respond to something with the best intentions and then don't realize how it's gonna be misused or used by others or perceived by others. I think that's the bigger issue, you know. You respond because you feel like you're doing the right thing, and how you're responding is appropriate, but then it's used differently, and I think that's a concern when you do respond, or if you go back to what you said, Matt, don't respond.
Don't respond.
Right, and then it's not an issue.
Right, and it's not what you're putting out on your personal, unless you're on like the school Wi-Fi or a district issue device. It's what you're putting out representing the board, so.
Correct, and you think, like, I would never, why would I respond to this? Why would I even, like, think anything better? But there are people who get, or it could be at night, or maybe they're
Keyboard
tired, or
warriors.
they, you know, and then all of a sudden they get like, oh my gosh, why would this person say this? And they gotta respond. There are people like that, and just saying that there are people that are very, vocal with their opinion. Or.
Not here. There's.
Not tonight.
Aside from this lady here, everybody else is administrator. Not here.
I recommend.
This is less about them, though. This is more about us and future us, to just make sure that people have this in mind, because I think that you take it for granted. Not you specifically, but again, the people
Look,
who.
I have no issue with the bylaw, because I don't use any of it.
Right. That's what I'm
saying.
So,
my recommendation is read over this from now until the next meeting, reach out to Tim, myself, Brian. I'm more than happy to talk to you. I appreciate what everyone has had to share. Jamie, thank you for your thoughts. And it's not that, I'm lecturing, it's just at a point of frustration when, people are constantly coming at you because they literally just want to keep going and going and going and going. It gets difficult to not respond and just sit there and let people talk about you over and over and over and over. So, I know I'm doing it, but I know not everyone else can. But I do think the policy, and we've pushed this policy around for quite some time. This is not.
I just think that we've learned this year, being on the Board of Ed and just in years past, you have to have a thick skin for this.
100%.
Volunteer, people get angry,
Can't make everyone happy.
it's not necessarily directed at us personally, it's directed at us as a grouping, but, it's kinda like what we tell the kids in school. When we're talking about bullying or, being picked on it's how you can control your own actions, but you can't control it.
Absolutely, but I think, I know a number of years ago, we did have a board member where we did have issues with, and so I'm thinking about the future board. If we have a board member where we have issues, then we have bylaws to support our entire board, with someone who may be divisive and pulling us all down.
Yep.
So no, this was not directed at anyone sitting at the table. Any other thoughts? Okay, so we need to, move into executive session for a personnel matter.
Yes, we need
Are
Denise.
you and Denise?
Yes, please.
So we need a motion to move into executive session, inviting the superintendent and, Denise Parsons.
I will move to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, inviting the superintendent and the director of human resources.
Do we have a second?
second.
So the motion by Tim, the second by
Is that what
Matt.
she still is?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? 9-0. All right, so it's 7:58.
Move to adjourn.
We're exiting from executive session. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Tim?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting ends at 7:58. Have a wonderful night, everyone. See you next time.
I got Matt on that
2
second,
weeks.
is that okay?